Some are sure.
Seriously.
I say excuse me.
Anyways, the world of Fallout 4 has always been such an interesting game to me. The idea of a existence where somehow nuclear apocalypse rains down and yet the lives of normal people weren't completely destroyed has always, it's always just been a good topic for me. I always found that out of all the Fallout games, Fallout New Vegas was in fact my favorite of them. I don't know if it has something to do with the great DLCs, the great people, the storyline itself, with the gameplay mechanics. It was just, in my opinion, it was always just a good game. But then something came to me one day, roughly a week ago actually. That one thing was, what would you do if you were in the game itself? What kind of changes do you think you'd have? Do you think you'd be able to exist in the world properly? Or do you think that, in the end, you would just fail? Well, let me tell you something. We here at TMOG have the answer for you. The answer for you is better than fiction itself. Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, and thank you for joining us once again, the Modern Stars of Gaming. I'm KaijuK, and with me here is Subliminal.
Yo.
Necro Nick.
What up?
And Rebel Vanity.
Hi.
There we go. And we're bringing to you a fun run this time around. What would we do in the world of Fallout New Vegas? Just get the camera fixed.
In case you're wondering, I did some studying first.
Yeah. Now, just to be throwing it out there,
Finally.
these two back here have actually never played it. Necro and I play it religiously.
Oh, fuck yeah. I'm on the shit out of it, too.
Yeah, and it's been modded to death.
God mode.
It's not God mode.
Anyway.
Trust me, I don't hit Titty, and I don't enter the God mode.
Anyway. Not to be throwing things out the window too much, but we decided to go through and design ourselves up as Fallout characters. Now, a little bit of a background though, we're changing the idea up a little. First of all, we're going to kind of throw it out the window that this is about 10 years after the Courier went through. So we're going to also place on the fact that we believe that Mr. House won, which to us makes the most sense, and that only the good endings happened from any of the DLCs. Because obviously, we're running by best case scenario here. So, let's start off with the idea between each of the characters. Now, I'm going to do my character, then I'm going to explain the equipment I have, my character's mentality, and why I chose it all. Next, we'll jump into Subliminal. From there, we'll jump into Rebel Vanity. And finally, bringing up the rear, but with a really great storyline, which is why I'm actually leaving him last, is Necro Nick. Because Necro actually thought of a really wicked background story for his character. So, without further ado, let's get this started. My character actually existed in a small colony near the Zion Valley. After the events of the Lone Courier, the Zion Valley was actually pretty empty. For those of you who don't know what the Zion Valley is, it's basically an untouched natural area of the world, with fresh water, fresh plant life, and plenty of wildlife to hunt and kill.
Change the nukes thing, kill everything.
Exactly. Now, the other thing about Zion Valley is there's only one safe way in now. It's actually through a tunnel, which makes it a really easy to defend location. So, the idea behind it is after everyone left, my character decided to head to the Nevada area, the New Vegas area, and to try to find someone to help him with his issues because he wanted to protect Zion Valley as much as possible.
Right.
Now, he was a traveler, so he ran back and forth between the Vegas Strip and his world, trying to pick up new equipment, new gear, new technology to try and help preserve the natural balance, as well as to try and get some trade-off. I mean, hey, if you're one of the few people in the world who has fresh water, fresh vegetables, fruits, and fresh game without radiation,
That's high commodity.
yeah, why not trade that stuff? However, to be honest with you, my character was not really known as a businessman. He was a hunter by trade and a shoot first, ask question later kind of person. He believed that trespassers should get one warning shot and afterwards there were no more warnings. He also dabbled in explosives a lot. That was thanks to the fact that his father happened to be a demolitionist. Now, with how Zion Valley is designed, he eventually met Mr. House. Now, Mr. House was all fun and games to hear that there was a fresh source of water, fruits and vegetables, etc., and he helped the young man out. Now, it wasn't until during this time that the young man caught a strange radio message coming from a local area. This area was, of course, a drive-in theater, and there was a strange satellite crashed in. Now, of course, not knowing what a satellite was, he just thought it was scrap from some kind of robot.
Yeah.
Upon approaching it, he found out otherwise. Pulled into the wonderful world of Big Empty, he was experimented on, not permanently damaged this time because they had learned their lesson, and he learned firsthand the cruelty that man could be. Not only could man attack itself, but man could also try to torture itself. This left him scarred and missing a few organs. But in the end, he prevailed. He got out of the Big Empty, but not without taking a little bit of its technology with him. Finding some schematics, he brought him back to Mr. House, and Mr. House helped him build a few of the processes. Things like plant growing pots. The Big Empty's commerce table, which he then hooked up to Mr. House's network so they could trade easier. So they wouldn't have to worry about the long 2-week journey between each other. And with this, he was able to set it up in other locations and thus spread his trade. Now, later on down the line, he ran into a very, very angry hippie in power armor and his gun-happy hazmat suit-wearing wife. Now, of course, they walked into Zion Valley after he had already built up a small fortress right at the entrance so nobody could come in without permission, because obviously you don't want anyone destroying or disturbing that natural lands. After a bit of a conversation, they decided to trade with each other, under the rule that the hippie would be able to provide some firepower in case he needed it. My character was happy to hear that, because Mr. House had already given him some, but Mr. House was a gambling man, and my character, not very trusting of gamblers. Of course, this will come back to bite him in the arse later. With the trade going on, he was actually able to get some soldiers from nearby locations and train up his way of fighting. His way, of course, being stealth, silence, and threat. By making yourself seem like a bigger target, the enemies are more likely to run away. He learned this from having to fight Yagwais for 10 years, because boy can they reproduce quickly. You'd be surprised what happens when FEV is introduced into a 2,000-pound plus black bear. Of course, they're also good eating, so he didn't have much to complain about there.
Right.
With that, settlers started coming in, and traders, and eventually he built a small city above the river. Now, of course, he was very specific that they don't leave trash, and recycling was a big thing. He also borrowed some more technology from the lands, including solar dishes from, of course, the Nevada area, so he could give people some power. It wasn't until one of his treks when he was approached by a very well-dressed businessman. Now, this businessman claimed to be from a highly defensified fortress, or casino as he called it, and offered him a chance to trade with him in response for giving him even more trade routes. Now, by this time, he had gained a lot of trade routes. He was a well-known name, and so he decided to go with a gamble. And it did not disappoint him. My character is a character of trade, commerce, and protection. He prefers to defend people, and prefers not to let people die that much. His feelings towards the factions of New Vegas are as such. Any of the Caesar's Legion that's still alive and comes through his tunnel, he basically just feeds to the Yagwai. He has no need to trade with those bastards. The Brotherhood of Steel are not allowed anywhere past his fortress. They're allowed to trade with him, but if they attempt anything to get forced past, he will kill them and feed them to the Yagwai. Any junkies or raiders that walk through the gate will be fed to the Yagwai. Unless, of course, they're trading with him, which he does trade with one group of raiders, but this raider group is well known as a group of drug peddlers. Now, I can't remember their names off the top of my head.
They're in the Red Canyon.
They're in the Red Canyon. We'll probably remember later. He does trade with them because they don't try to hurt people, and because of his flaw, he has no problem taking drugs. Finally, we have the NCR and Mr. House. Mr. House he holds with a high affinity, as well as his friends. But with the NCR, he's very cautious. He's heard the destruction they're capable of, but still trades and allows a few of them to be walking on his property at times. However, if they try anything, he will kill them and
feed them to the Yagwai.
Thank you, Sub, thank you. That being said, I have a lot of well-fed Yagwais. My people have domesticated a lot of the animals, we breed them, we have a lot of growing, a lot of farm industry, and we do have some technology because of a few of the people in this room and Mr. House, mainly. Now, let's get to my character itself. My character prefers stealth and basically staying away from his opponents. He doesn't want to have to get up close. He does not like the idea of it. The only time he wants to get up close is if he knows he can take the opponent down. That being said, His main sidearm is a 44 auto pistol, something that was found in the valley itself and is a well-armed weapon. Not only does it have great damage, but it's silenced. Thanks to its increased advantages, of course, it also has a bonus to its health. Of course, with his jury-rigging perk, which we'll talk about later, he can repair it quite easily. He also uses the hand-loaded perk, which allows him to create 45 super hand-loaded ammo, which he uses quite well. Next up is the Rat Slayer he found once during his adventures. The Rat Slayer, of course, as we all know, is a legendary weapon from the Fallout New Vegas games. It's a scoped, silenced, night-visioned 5.56 round sniper rifle. This is his main go-to when he's taking care of opponents. He tends to use armor-piercing rounds or GRA hand-loaded. He also has an H&H tool nail gun. Yes, a silenced submachine gun that shoots nails. Tends not to use this as much, but this is his go-to in case he actually has to go nuts. His final weapon is a weapon he got from the heavy hippie behind him. This is called the Red Glare. It's an automatic sniper rifle-based rocket launcher. It fires lots of rockets, mini-rockets, very fast and deals a lot of damage. He prefers the HE rockets because they deal a lot of damage. This is a weapon that he only falls back on if he literally has to. This is a last resort because as far as he's considered, any damage to nature is damage he can't fix.
Right.
Finally, as I told you before, he's explosive happy. So, my character carries no less than 5 and no more than 10 incendiary and pulse grenades at all times. These are for taking down enemies such as armorless soldiers, but also by taking down robots and power-armored soldiers. He also enjoys C4 explosives. Oh, does he enjoy C4 explosives? He loves throwing them and tossing them and then pulling the detonator button and watching everybody go kaboom. The only reason he isn't one of the boomers is because he's not fast enough to get past the mortars and not dumb enough to try. Finally, he also enjoys satchel charges, which he also got from this gentleman right here. We'll talk about him later. Satchel charges are as strong, if not stronger, than bottle cap mines, have a very short fuse but do really big damage. Generally uses these to protect areas where he can't guard at all times. Finally, last but not least, the Blood Nap. The Blood Nap is a combat knife specialized and found in his location. I stole it from him. He doesn't know about that yet. He just found out. Not only is this a silenced weapon that gives me a bonus to my sneak damage, critical damage, and critical chance, but I also have it applied in poison at all times. That is, vials of Silver Sting toxin, which not only cause the person's combat stats to drop dramatically, but to cause them to go and basically seizure out while I stab the crap out of them.
Always a good thing to have.
Yeah.
Armor-wise, I'm going to be walking around in Elite Riot gear. Now, this is great armor, especially because it gives a Charisma bonus, which I don't have a lot of. My character's not exactly charismatic. A crit chance and a bonus to guns, which I use. Not only that, but it's a pretty good weight-to-damage threshold ratio. When I'm not wearing its helmet, I'm wearing Dr. Mobius's glasses, which I stole from the Big Empty. That give me a plus 10 to my explosives and plus 2 to intelligence. I have a first recon beret, which I stole from Boone while he was sleeping. He'll get it back one day, I promise. Which does... Huh?
No, he won't.
No. Which gives me a critical chance plus 5 and perception plus 1. Finally, when I'm not wearing my helmet, I'm almost always wearing my rebreather, which I got from the Boomers, the one time I was able to get through. That's why I have a supply line with them and plenty of explosives. And, by the way, the only reason I got through was because this man threatened to blow them up with nukes if they wouldn't let me through. This rebreather allows me to breathe in water. With the Elite Riot helmet on, though, when I'm in combat mode, it gives me sneak sight, which allows me to see in the dark when I'm sneaking around, plus 5 to speech and plus 2 to perception.
I think that should be...
I think that is. Dang it. Well, Necro will be right back. And finally, when I'm sleeping, I prefer to wear the Naughty Nightwear. Yes, this gives me a plus 10 to speech and plus 1 to luck. Ladies, nighty. Also, when I'm just walking around generally, I have a modified form of Joshua Graham's armor. Now, why I say modified is, when you look at Joshua Graham's armor, which you can get from Zion Valley, the problem is the pants are ripped, and I don't want to walk around in ripped pants.
That's a great style.
Now, as for my character's traits, I've chosen Skilled, which gives me plus 5 to all my skills, but minus 10% experience gain from all things, which won't be a problem with my next perk, because I also have Logan's Loophole. Logan's Loophole means my character can never go past level 30. Just to tell you, all of my soldiers also have the Logan's Loophole. What this does do, however, is make sure that we can never get addicted to chems and causes them to have twice the effect for twice as long. This means I can shoot up on things like Psycho, and suddenly I'm a hell of a lot harder to deal with as I'm coming barreling at you with a knife, screaming and having foam come out of my mouth like I'm Brock frickin' Samson from the Venture Brothers. Perk-wise, I've chosen a lot of them based on my character's personality. I'm more of an outdoor kind of character, so I'm more of a survivalist in nature. So, things like roughing it, so I get the same bonus from sleeping outside as I would in a regular bed. From my adventures in the Big Empty, I have the Reinforced Spine perk, which gives me a bonus to my strength and my damage threshold. The Heartless perk, which means I'm immune to poison. And the Brainless perk, which keeps me from being crippled in the head. I also have the Them's Good Eating perk, which allows me to get blood sausage and thin red paste from anything I kill, which is more yummies. And when I say everything I kill, I mean everything I kill, including people. That's right, I'm eating you. With a side order of fava beans.
Are you sure it's not a sensu bean?
Sensu bean! I also have the heavyweight perk because I figure carrying around a 20-plus pound red glare rocket launcher probably isn't going to do me any good, but carrying a 10-pound one around, that's great. On top of that, I have the ninja perk for bonus critical hits and damage. I have computer whiz and infiltrator for being able to get around things. Like I said, I'm a stealthy kind of person. While I may not be able to talk the talk, I can definitely get into your base and lay C4 everywhere and wait for you to walk in. On top of that, I also have weapon handling, which means weapons require 2 less strength for me to use, aka, once again, going with the Raucous Red Glare. Light Step, so I don't set off traps. Jury Rig, so I can fix anything with almost anything. Chemist, which will double the effect of chems again, thanks with my Logan's Loophole again.
E.T. phone home.
Oh, jeez. Can you help him with something real quick, Matt? Oh, man. I would, but I'm like, oh, jeez. Necro's carrying 2... Oh, he's like 4 boxes, 2 2-liters under his arms, his flashlight in his mouth. E.T. phone home indeed. What was I? Silent running to avoid being heard. Once again, stealthy bastard. Scrounger allows me to find more ammunition. Pack Rat causes light things to be lighter. Hand loader, so I can make my hand-loaded ammunition. And finally, because I'm a bomb hippie kind of guy, demolition expert.
So if you want to pass that to
now,
thank you.
No product placement on this channel, I'll tell you that much. Now, the big thing about my guy is that I want to train people, but I want to train people to be survivalists and soldiers. My soldiers may not be the best trained, but with a few drugs injected into us, we become far more dangerous. The reason I chose this kind of character, because this isn't exactly how I would design an actual character, but if I were to exist in this world, I would want to be the kind of person who could rely on people and then have them rely on me. I'm not a one-man army. I'm the person who's going to be leading the charge with a few stealth cadres. I'm the guy who's injected himself with Med-X, Psycho, and every other drug that he can imagine, and is now running at you stealthed, leaping into the air like a nutcase, launching rockets at you, going, Kids don't do drugs unless you have Logan's Loophole. And
even then, it's probably still not a smart idea.
Yeah, you'll still get in trouble for that crap. You know, we do not condone the use of condone. Yeah, we do not condone. I'm probably on some now. The use of drugs. However, pot is not a drug, so go happy. This character is closer to how I feel I would be in a situation like that, with all the world falling apart around me. Finding some semblance of peace and tranquility in a world where radiation has ravaged everything just seems like the kind of place I'd want to go. You guys have any comments about it? Questions?
No, except now I feel underprepared.
Like not every one of us had 2 weeks to prepare this, man.
Yeah, I found out last minute. You're right.
You found out, like, you sent me a message this morning. Are we doing a live stream tonight? Yeah. I'd better get over there and do something.
Well, I heard you were in an accident, so I figured if you were not feeling up to it, and
well, I wasn't a bit of a fender bender. It wasn't really a fender bender. Was it Friday? Yeah, Friday.
Some moron decided to drive into his lane during shitty weather, and he had to go to a ditch to avoid it.
Yeah, we had a nor'easter, and I decided to leave early. And along the way, some woman in an SUV decided to come careening around a corner at full speed and almost smashed into me, so I put myself into a ditch. And I smashed my dome off of the steering wheel as my car went from 35 to 0, like that. I had a really bad headache. In fact, I think you can still see a little bit of a red mark on my forehead there. from when I hit it pretty bad. So can you still see the red mark, or is it gone away? It was like up here.
I don't really see too much.
All right.
So maybe it's just because the lighting.
Yeah. Well, it knocked me for a loop, and by the time I got home, I was just had a splitting migraine. But that has nothing to do with my character. But it does have something to do with Subliminal. Subliminal, it's your turn to give us a headache. I'm just kidding.
Oh, thanks.
I'm kidding.
Now
remember, folks, Sub never played the game. He's going based on his own intelligence and what we've told him.
That and the fact that I only found out today, and what was it, 2-3 hours ago that I started working on it?
Yeah.
So, from what I gathered, not too bad, and I'm pretty sure he'll fill in the holes.
Yeah, he's got a great idea. Don't let him fool you. He usually has good ideas. Remember his Gundam from the Gundam one? Whew, that one was great. I like that little midget Gundam.
Except I had more time for it.
Shut up! You should ask at the end of every live stream what the next live stream is. You keep forgetting.
I know. I'm sorry.
Move! Start reading.
All right. I decided that I was gonna base my. Should I go for the story first?
Yeah, go with the story, man. Go with the story.
All right. Well, I ended up.
Don't name people's names other than the one that's been mentioned, though.
All right, Necro.
Okay, go, man. It's cool.
Did I mention the name?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Wow. I forgot my story.
So you.
Well, what happened is I basically started walking around. What is it, Nevada? I walked.
How about I start filling in the story?
Yeah, you know the story already.
So basically, Subliminal met this beautiful young creature behind us, who I'm still forgetting her nickname.
Rebel Vanity.
Thank you, 7,000 frickin' times. I'm sorry. I'm horrible with remembering crap. Met the lovely Rebel Vanity while he was wandering Nevada looking for purpose. He heard a rumor about a desolate wasteland that was filled with treasure, and it was not called the Sierra Madre.
Nope.
No.
It was
called the Divide. Now, this location had already been cleared through by the courier, but left so many surprises and secrets behind that he just couldn't help himself but to go visit. Now, along the way, he decided to stop by Mr. House and get his blessings, and Mr. House mentioned that he had to be very careful, because there were other powerful people around the area. Then he mentioned, of course, about one guy who was just a trader, but was becoming a really good trader, and that he should stop by and see him once he made himself a place. Of course, Subliminal's first mindset was to get himself and his beautiful wife a place to be safe. So they chose a location where they didn't think anybody would dare come looking for them. The Divide. After donning power armor, which he gained from Mr. House, and the special supplies required for equipping his girl as well, they made their way to the Divide and into the hellstorm that it was.
That was the swindler.
Well, that's the next part of the story.
Oh.
Now, before they went and left Mr. House's house, though, they ran into a well-dressed bald man. Well, somewhat bald man.
Hi, Necro.
What's up, everyone?
Now, this man decided to say, because this man happened to be there for Mr. House's business as well, he decided to speak with him and say, what's going on? How you doing? Then Subliminal explained to him that he was looking for something. He was looking for a treasure. Now, of course, the man with a good-looking suit decided to get a little nervous and say, what treasure? And he told him a safe place so he could raise his family and be safe. Well, after seeing what little Mr. House actually did give the duo, as he was basically a penny pincher, now the man in the business suit didn't like that. He saw something in those two. He saw something that would give him even more. So he invited them both back to the Sierra Madre. Going through tunnels that he specifically safe-marked for himself, he brought them in, gave them far better equipment, even sent a little extra protection with them, and told them if they needed anything, he'd be there to help them. All they had to do was promise that if they found anything out there that they didn't really need or want, they would share the information with him. And the two agreed, and they made their way into the Divide. Along the way, they ran into the surviving remnants of what were called the Marked Men. These, of course, are the ghouls that were changed by the X number of nukes going off simultaneously, gaining a super healing rate, but keeping their intelligence. Now, donning power armor, of course, the mighty Subliminal decided to walk up to them and say, I have a problem with this. This land is now my land, and no one will stop me. That Ulysses man who tried to stop me failed. He is now dead. And the rest of you have a choice. You can either stand with me, or we can bury you.
I like how you said that.
That is your choice. Now, a few of the men decided to start up. They tried to talk. That was before a few of their heads went missing. No one could hear the shot go off, but somewhere in the distance was Rebel Vanity with her anti-material rifle, and any one of them who even so much as took a step forward lost their head. He explained to them then that he wasn't there to fight them, but to give them purpose. They constantly spent their time fighting each other, but what they needed is purpose. They needed to become real people again, and he would give that to them. He would give them purpose. He would give them armor and weapons. He would give them housing that they could use, food, water, and all they had to do was help him protect this land, because they could too. Now, through his life, he had been experimented on by a few scientists, and so had Rebel. That's how they first met. This gave him rad resistance and rad regeneration, the likes of which no human really ever had. So he's able to survive in that land just as well as them. After some bartering and some talking, the marked men decided to agree. And they got themselves together, and they helped him march. And along the way, they sealed up tunnels where the tunnelers would come through. They sealed up radioactive caves with explosives so they would never have to worry about it again. And they killed and murdered every last Deathclaw in sight. And they made it to that final location, the temple. And that's when he found the cache. The nuclear firearms. Still there. Still capable of being fired. The computer's still active. The lone wanderer, the courier himself, didn't turn it off on the way out. That's right, folks. If you remember correctly, he just left. He never turned off anything. He never flipped any switches. In the good ending, he literally just walks away, leaving this fully active nuclear battalion behind. 10 years later, he's the master of this crap now. With his knowledge and all the iBots that could be recreated, he went around and found new technologies. He brought them in. He helped find ways to seal off radiation and create a small trade route only through his commissaries, because he didn't want to risk anyone coming through. And, of course, if anyone was dumb enough to come through, they ran into a small flaw. His army. His army of subliminal soldiers. Marching towards people in power armor, wielding powerful, dangerous energy weapons that he gained. And from the shadows, a second battalion of unseen soldiers armed with powerful long-range rifles. An army the likes of which even scared Mr. House. And when Mr. House decided to step forward and say, "You may have gotten a little strong," he explained to Mr. House just what strength was. And explained to him that if I wanted to, I could rain hell down upon you. I have countless nukes at my disposal, and I already know that your defenses were destroyed. You will not survive, but I will not turn a blade to you, for you helped me. Along the way, he also ran into the well-dressed businessman. He explained what he found, and through some talks that he still isn't 100% about, he found himself trading more than he was expecting to the well-dressed man. But he felt the well-dressed man deserved it, because if it was not for him, he may not have made it through the divide. Now, while talking to the well-dressed man and, of course, the wonderful owner, Mr. House, he noticed something, a strange machine that had been set up, that people were buying food and water out of, and noticed it was fresh water, fresh food, fresh meat. Where was this coming from? So he questioned the two, and the two gentlemen explained to him that in Zion Valley, there was a new kingdom being built. They called it a kingdom. It's not really a kingdom. That was designed for trading and planting and helping people. And all he had to do was walk in and say hi. And so he did, as a bullet whizzed past his head. And from the shadows, after he had dropped his weapon, realizing he probably shouldn't be loading it, I emerged. And after some talking and explaining that he wasn't there to kill me, and I explained to him that I wasn't going to waste ammo at this range, he decided to make a trade route. And he brought one of his commissary machines. And so I gave him the schematics to make one of mine. And from that, trades came. And he promised that should anyone ever attempt to attack my valley, they would not know peace. They would only know retribution from radioactive fire. Subliminal chooses to use robots mainly. He does have an army of marked men with him, but with all the robotic parts that were lurking around inside the multiple missile silos along the way, he has quite the army. And, not to be outdone, so does Rebel Vanity. Rebel Vanity is also packing quite an army of stealthy spies and soldiers all around the Commonwealth. See, the funny thing about ghouls is they kind of all look similar, not to be racist. So the marked men and their superior healing capabilities wouldn't be noticed walking around the New Vegas Strip either. That being said, let's go into a little bit more about them. mainly weapons and armor. So Subliminal.
Thanks for the story, man. It was definitely a lot better than what I had came up with originally.
I took the entire story you had and I just ran with it. I'm a good speaker sometimes. Sometimes.
Point proven.
Alright, well, obviously, my power suit would be the T-45.
The Brotherhood T-45 power armor.
The Brotherhood.
Which he gained from, of course, the well-dressed businessman.
And basically, I'd obviously get the markmen under my control, like he said before. I create a room to cultivate after meeting with Kaiju here to plant seeds. That way I could grow some food while I so I could have wait time. When I have wait time to get the food I need.
So he can try and rebuild his world, pretty much.
Pretty much. Let's see. Obviously block the caves, like he said. Kill all Deathcloths. Replace them with sentry bots.
Yep. Guarding his highways would be powerful sentry bots. Armed for one purpose and one purpose only. To fuck up anybody dumb enough to come across that highway.
Now, when I have my power... Well, actually, since I have it for both, it was for my power armor mainly. But then I switched it to both power with my power armor on and off. I would basically have the Tesla baton cannon.
The Tesla Beton Cannon.
Beton.
A powerful, long-ranged, explosive energy weapon that does bonus damage against robots and heavy armored soldiers such as power armor.
Mainly used when I have my power armor on, though.
Right, because it does require a lot of carry-all to fire the sucker.
The hollow rifle?
The hollow rifle, which he got from a strange, well-dressed businessman.
With all the modifications.
The hollow rifle, of course, is a long-range sniper rifle-like weapon that has the added effect of burning the target when it hits them.
Which, the modifications, it was what? A suppressor?
No, a scope.
A scope? A...
Getting some really bad lag.
I'm sorry. This is the best we can do right now.
I don't remember all of the modifications, but
It basically made the gun really strong.
yeah, pretty
Not
much.
this long.
The Revelation Sonic Emitter, dual wield.
Yep. So
Gotta have two pistols.
so this guy actually dual wields the Revelations. Now, the Revelations are, of course, a sonic weapon that have a chance on a critical hit to stun the target for 10 seconds. Dual wielding these suckers means he has a lot of fun if they get too close. Also, bonus damage against armor.
The Protonic Inversal Axe.
This is a melee weapon which he wields with extreme prejudice. Not only does it do bonus damage against robots and power armor, but it deals a hell of a lot of damage and can be wielded quite effectively with or without his power armor. With his power armor, even more.
Let's see. And for my perks, I would have irradiation beauty for, you know, when I have radiation and I want to go to sleep and get rid of it.
Yep, when he goes to sleep, all of his radiation goes away.
Burden to bear it.
Which allows him to carry 50 pounds extra.
But that's just atomic, right?
There's atomic. Atomic gives him a huge boost as long as he's in an irradiated area. And of course, being that he's in the Divide...
It's all radioactive.
Exactly! So he gets a huge boost to his stats and makes it a lot harder for you to kill him.
Rad absorption.
Rad absorption allows him to get rid of his rads faster even when he's not sleeping.
Slayer.
Which allows him to hit faster and harder with his melee weapons, aka the Proton Axe.
Damn it, I thought you brought out a freaking axe guitar.
What is it, the compensation? Oh, the computer whiz.
Yeah, computer whiz. I figured that computer whiz would make sense, seeing as he wants to do a lot of hacking and programming. So being a computer whiz would give him a huge bonus.
Oh, robotics expert.
For hacking the robots and building them.
And vigilant recycler.
This is because Sub uses almost completely energy weapons, which gives him a huge boost into gaining more energy weapons back by recycling them. Now, that being said, let's also go over the stats of his beautiful wife behind him.
Do you want to read them or should I?
Can you read my writing?
I can read it. By the way, I would like to say that, did you actually give her the ring? And is it official? So I'd like to take this exact moment here to congratulate the lucky future Mr. and Miss Subliminal. Can we get a clap here, everyone? Claps all around. Even just type it in the comments. Hit claps. Do you have the ring with you?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they can't see it from
I'm
here.
just gonna pop it off real quick. Sorry. And he got her a heck of a ring, folks. Let's see if I can get that in there. Look at that, folks. Look at that beautiful ring. That's... Oh, damn inverted cameras! It's a beautiful ring. There you go. You want to slip it back on her finger for her? So, that being said, we're going to move on to her. Now, her approach to the game is actually a lot different than his approach. So.
No, I can't read your writing. I'm not even going to try.
All right.
I kind of abbreviated and spelled
All right. Well, first she's using the blue hazmat. Oh, you want to... Hang on a second. Yeah. Oh. We have dinner if you want it real quick. We can hand it out to you. We have some pizza if you want it. Okay, well. That was my brother I was talking to. So, she's using the hazmat suit with the night vision built into it. This is a good thing for her walking around the divide in. Not to mention that with the coloring on the suit itself, it would make you really hard to see, seeing as how dark the coloring is on it. On top of that, she enjoys a fully modified anti-material rifle for anti-lifing people. As you know, an anti-material rifle is designed to be anti-tank, which basically means there's no armor that's going to protect you from her rifle.
Which is bad when she's mad at me.
She penetrates.
She also uses, when she has to, the All-American rifle, a assault rifle for medium to short range combat. Now she doesn't always use this, but when she has to, she will. Now she has all the same ranks except for energy weapons and perks that Subliminal does. So just to give you the heads up on that, every one of his energy perks is gone, but she still has, say, irradiated beauty, and atomic. Now, on top of that, she also packs herself with the Ninja perk, which gives her bonus damage to criticals. Did that, and then Bezos, alertness. That's alertness. Oh, sorry about that. Alertness gives her a bonus to her perception when she's crouching. Concentrated fire, which means every time she aims at you in VATS mode, if she misses, she gets a better shot next. Better criticals for better critical damage. Silent running, so it's harder to hear her. Light step, she doesn't set off bombs, and feces. Finesse. Sorry, finesse.
Feces, yes.
Finesse. I am so sorry. I don't have my glasses on, folks, so I can't see really well.
In my defense, my handwriting is very sloppy.
I have a tail now. I'm a happy tail. Anyway, so their idea is a very... there's a puppy head. Their idea is a very simple one, but a very efficient one. They go in, they created an army, and they want to defend themselves. But not so much defend as they just want to be left the hell alone. That being said, there's my tail again. That being said, don't fuck with them because they have a nuclear arsenal and robots behind them, as well as self-healing units that all they have to do is nuke your place and march them into. It really becomes hard when they keep regenerating the health you're trying to take from them. That being said, we're moving on to the last, but not least. Behind us is one Necro Nick.
The well-dressed man.
This is the well-dressed businessman, in case you couldn't tell, from his cackling and finger moving in the background. Now, the well-dressed businessman, of course, is the third member of our group. Well, fourth, technically, but I'm going to consider these two a power couple, so I'm just going to say there. Let's see here. What would be a good power couple name for them? How do you do a power couple? Is it like the first half of one and the second half of the other?
Yeah.
So, Sub-Vanity? Rebiminal?
Sub-Vanity.
Sub-Vanity. We're going to call them Sub-Vanity. That's way better. It's the Sub-Vanity power couple. You know, that's going to be one of the first shirts we make when we get a shop. It's going to be Sub-Vanity. It's going to be half your face and half her face.
Or Sub-Rebel could work.
And on the back is...
Sub-Rebel could work.
And on the back is going to be a picture of the divide saying, "We own this."
That actually sounds like a cool idea.
Hey, I have them sometimes. Somebody mark that down for me. Write it down in the description so I don't forget. Because I will. So,
Alrighty.
well-dressed businessman. Bring forth the power that is well-dressed business!
Alrighty, well, back in my youngin' days in the Nevada area, I was told great stories of my great-great-grandfather and great-grandfather and grandfather of how well they were in the casinos and everything like that, and how they pretty much were feared for the gambling aspect of it and how they could swindle their ways out. And at a young age, my father went off to go find this grand casino at the Sierra Madre, and he never came back. So at a very young age, I actually started to do what my great-grandfathers and grandfathers and everything did by starting to learn the ways of the tables, dealing, becoming a professional gambler myself, and swindling my way out of a lot of things.
So you spent a lot of time on the Vegas Strip.
Yes.
All right.
This is when Mr. House actually contacted me by name and told me to come to his residence, where then he finally told me all the info that I needed to go and proceed to find my father at the Sierra Madre. Mind you, he just knew about the tunnel, not exact locations, because that was out of his range. So then I set off with all my swindler ways into the tunnels, and then once I peeked out of the opening of the tunnel, I realized I was fucked because there was a whole bunch of ghosts there.
The ghost people.
So then I ran back to Vegas and started getting up the wandering mercenaries that were there.
Alright.
Which explains why after Fallout 3 they disappeared.
Yep, the Talon mercenary crew suddenly went missing. Well, that's because he bought them.
So I then had them come back, join me as my own protection and comrades, and I would indeed make sure that they live a well life. Which they did with me at the hotel once we cleared out all the ghost people, and I found the massive treasure that laid there.
Now, just to throw a bit of the story in that I don't know if he's aware of it, but I'm just going to add this to it. Along the way, the town company actually was attacked by a young woman that was hiding inside the Sierra Madre itself. Now, unfortunately, through the struggle, they weren't able to save her life. She ended up getting killed by them. She was actually a woman from the actual storyline who decided to stay behind and try to keep people from finding the Sierra Madre's treasure. Once Nick actually made his way into the Sierra Madre, he found his way to the treasure vault and could hear a banging sound from inside of it. Somebody was struggling to get out. Turned out that he was a pretty evil person, and some of the things he said to Nick, he didn't like.
Nope.
So, with his hacking skills, Nick opened up the vault, and when the old man stepped out named Elijah, he was gunned the hell down. And with that, Necro gained the treasure that was in there, as well as the power over the Sierra Madre.
Yes. And that's when my story continues. I then, as earlier said, I found Subliminal and pretty much gave him all his stuff that were required to find and provide, as long as he gave me info that could be beneficial to me, and protection as well if he found anything that was worthwhile for me to have to protect, or, well, as needless to say, I found out he has missiles. So
now, just to throw it out there, the reason why I believe they have so many missiles left is that as you're traveling through the area, not only are there tons of missiles just lying around, but inside the actual building itself, there's tons of them just lined up. And in the actual last chamber where Subliminal would basically make his home base, there are literally 5 active nuclear missiles sitting there waiting to be loaded onto the trolley.
Yeah.
So
Is
that's
there
the
one on the trolley as well.
There was one, but that's the one. Well, in the good ending, that means it would still be on the trolley. So that would be the 6th one.
Yes.
And that would be the one that he deactivated, but you could easily reactivate.
Oh, okay.
So, as I said, I helped him proceed his future, and then later on, in my persuasions with Mr. House, of pretty much having him give me access to his mainframe so that way we could work cooperatively, and so we would never step on each other's toes, as we both own 2 massive casino areas. Mind you, he did not realize I would pretty much know how to hack into his system after he gave me access. That way I had a failsafe if he ever fucking betrayed me.
So he has a kill switch on Mr. House.
And all his robots. Then
It's quite the army.
and my persuasions with him, and I got my access. He mentioned a vast land that was untouched by any nuclear explosions, that was completely pure. So I went to said lands,
I wonder who this belongs to.
where I met KaijuK
In the way I usually meet visitors.
by shooting at them.
Hey, you're still alive, ain't you?
Anyway, we, as soon as I had wealth and everything like that, he asked for some trade. In return, he would provide me with plenty of pure goods, which worked out in my favor. He seemed quite worried when first meeting me because of the way I talked and my silver tongue, but he apparently liked to gamble.
I'm brainless.
I like how you added the silver tongue thing.
Well,
Thank you.
he does have a silver tongue. I mean, think about it. Out of all of us, he's the one who did the most talking. Remember, you asked for help, and then you got nukes. I just found a valley, and I put people in it. He had to talk down gamblers, spies, hitmen, the owner of the house casino, you guys yourselves, and me. And knowing how panicky I am and how high-strung I am, he probably half expected not to walk away from that encounter.
So then I went back to my own place, set up all places where I could get all trade from, and actually became a master trade route.
Mhm.
That I would oversee every trade route to everyone, as well as being probably one of the most prestigious casinos / hotels, and pretty much made Mr. House jealous, but he would never touch me.
All right. So the end of the story for him is that he took this Sierra Madre, which is basically a giant anti-nuclear fortress, and turned it into his own small kingdom. He has an army of holograms under his control. He also has an army of well-trained mercenaries with plenty of equipment and happiness that would not want to give up this place. He has a lot of trade routes coming in and out, and he's quite smart and intelligent. He's the kind of man who's going to... He may not beat you in the fight, but in the end, you're going to suddenly realize that you gave him everything he needed anyway.
Oh, and also for the tunnelways that led to the entrance, I now have the access from Blue Mountain that actually put up the barriers inside the tunnels themselves. That way I allow people to come in that I see fit.
In other words, he has force fields built up, so in case you just happen to show up and he doesn't like you, he won't let you through.
Nope.
You know what I like? I like the fact that you have the natural land, I have the nuclear missiles, and he has the anti-missiles.
Yeah, we all basically different versions of ourselves. We have the before, the during, and the after, all in one little lump sum. I see you back there, Rebel. I see. There, she smiled. I win! 10 kaiju points! Please don't go watch our damn Sponge of the Month Club video.
Do it.
Watch it!
Oh, that newest one. I hurt myself during it.
Do
Which one? The one where I was in it?
Yeah, I hurt myself. You didn't know about it, but I like pulled something back here, and I had.
That's what happens when you get so damn
I had
high.
a massive headache for like an hour.
You didn't even do the joke.
Yeah, we'll do that next time. I already told you.
I know.
Now, going into the master of Subliminal, what you need to know about this man is he's a master of melee, guns, speech, science, and barter.
Necro.
Or Necro, sorry. From his pocket, he generally carries on him the Sleepy Time. It's a silenced 10mm automatic submachine gun that he can easily hide if he goes in and out of casinos, even his own. For dealing with opponents from medium range, he brings out the Bozar, a highly dangerous, very powerful assault rifle, scoped, allowing him to do pretty much as much damage as he wants at little effect. On top of that, he's dual-wielding melee weapons, but maybe not at the same time. He hacks a cosmic knife, which will not only do bonus damage to your limbs, but has a really good bonus to critical hits.
And then also my shillelagh, also known as a war club.
A war club, which he most likely got from me.
You did pick the cosmic knife?
Yes.
Nice.
The War Club, of course, is one of the best melee weapons in the game, in my personal opinion, which is a fast-moving club that gets equipment that makes it more durable and even swing faster. Now,
I like to call it my shillelagh.
Now, much like me, Necro got his armor from Subliminal. He and I both carry the same elite riot gear. I wear it because I need it. He wears it because it's badass. There's a difference. I kind of need the charisma and speech, and he could just basically blow that part off.
I like my silly tongue.
Now, trait-wise, Necro, much like myself, is using traits. These two didn't use them, but because they didn't want all the negatives.
No, it's because I didn't understand all of it, so I didn't want to get it complicated.
Well, it's also because of the bad negatives. I mean,
That's
face
true.
facts, I mean, could you really afford Logan's loophole?
No.
No, you couldn't. Could you really afford, like, say, Four Eyes, where you only get your perception when you're wearing glasses?
I don't wear glasses.
Right, or Small Frame, where you get an agility bonus, but your limbs are crippled easily.
No, especially not that one.
Not in his universe. That's why he didn't pick the traits. Now, Necro uses the Good-Natured trait, which gives all of his non-combat skills a boost, while giving all his combat skills a negative. And the Skilled perk, which, like I said before, gives a +5 to all of his skills, but minus 10% of his experience. Now, to me, it wasn't as detrimental, because I only make it to level 30. For Necro, it was an excruciating lifetime, where he had to make 50 levels with that skill intact. Now, on top of that, he also has the Burden to Bear. Once again, an extra 50 carry weight doesn't hurt. With Grunt, he boosts basically all the weapons he's carrying damage, other than the War Club. With the Subdermal Implant, he gets a bonus to armor even when he's not wearing armor. Computer Whiz for hacking, as he's already told you from his story, so he can get a hold of those holograms and Mr. House. Long Haul to allow him to teleport around with the, of course, what's that called?
Overweight or...
No, what was it called when you move from place to place?
Fast travel.
Fast travel, even when he's overweight. Terrifying Presence because of speech, so he can scare people off when he fights them. Strong Back for more carrying. Scrounger for more ammo. Pack Rat to carry more. The Professional boosts his Sleepy Time and Cosmic Knife damage. Gunslinger boosts Sleepy Time and the Bozar's damage. And of course, because he has that silver tongue and he knows how to put it in the right place. Okay, let me try that again.
Giggity.
Let me try that again. That didn't
Giggity.
sound right. Let me try that again. That didn't sound right.
You'll see why I mean giggity in a moment.
Because he knows what to say and when to say it. He also has both the Lady Killer and Confirmed Bachelor perks.
Giggity to the first comment.
Giggity anyway. Now, not only is this because of his actual background of being bisexual, but I figured that because of his silver tongue, getting speech checks between men and women wouldn't be as hard for him because of how skilled he would be in talking. Now, once again, these aren't all the perks our characters would have. These are just a light group, because if we went through and had every perk at every level that we got it at,
Right.
all of our special bonuses and everything, this would make it a very long game, because unlike Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas' max level was 50. So I could have done it with my character, but not these guys. Now,
I could have done it with mine.
yeah, 50 long levels, 50 long levels, 50 long levels.
Yeah. I mean...
Now, if you're interested...
probably would have had to do a video each.
Yeah, now if you're interested in knowing what we would have picked, somebody just mark it down in the page below and we'll all do a video up on it maybe later. Now, the big thing to remember is that all of us decided to become allies. This is a very dangerous aspect in the world of the Fallout series, as allies can easily turn on each other. However, that being said, allies also have the supreme advantage of being able to benefit one another. What this is basically coming down to is that, well, in a nutshell, the world of Fallout is a strange and wondrous place, where allies can become enemies and enemies can become allies at the worst times or the best of times. So, the fact that Subliminal, myself, Rebel Vanity, and Necro Nick all decided to try and side up with each other in a very strange, story-esque way is the biggest benefit we could possibly have had. The reason behind it is basically not only because we're friends, but because we would have the knowledge of the events ahead of us to give us the benefit. I myself am a natural kind of person in real life. I enjoy nature, I enjoy fresh foods and everything like that. So, it makes sense that I would pick a natural location, but I also like the idea of helping people, which is where the trade routes would come in. With Subliminal and Rebel Vanity, they have a very strong army presence. However, they don't have to use it if they don't want to. They can just use threats, but they can still keep trading, and they can maybe even have their soldiers lent out for other people. Necro himself is actually kind of a gambler in real life.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't mind doing it. But even then, you can see that even with how he built himself up, he still has a strong community behind him. He wants to help people, but he only wants to help people that he can help. Because when it comes down to it, a couple junkies knocking on his door wanting to come in doesn't do him any good to his supplies.
Right.
Well, Rebel Vanity and Sub just wanted a place where they could be left alone, which, as I know these two, is something that they don't mind. They would love to live somewhere where they could just be left the hell alone. And with that, that's the exact reason why each one of us chose our character routes the way we did. Not because we chose the best winning ratio. We didn't min-max the crap out of this. We didn't do anything like that. We just decided to have fun and decide if this is how I was going to live in this world, if this is how I was going to live in this world.
Right.
Now, your mileage will vary. Maybe you like the idea of being a melee nutcase, or maybe you'd be a psycho, maybe you'd be on the side of the Raiders, or maybe, for some strange reason, you just want to be one of Caesar's Legion. I would probably feed you to one of my bears. But that being said, folks, I'd like to thank you guys for joining us in this little experiment where we used a...
Thanks, JV Slayer, for saying Death Claws for life.
Death Claws for life. Ooh, scary crap
You
right
can
there.
have them.
I originally planned to capture them and use them for traps, but they said it wasn't a good idea.
It's not that it wasn't a good idea. It'd be very hard to take a 12-foot-tall reptile capable of ripping through steel with its claws and finding some place to keep it while you fed it.
That was the example he gave. So
I mean, no offense, man, but the Death Claw is kind of a difficult thing to protect against.
what if I was able to like shoot a hormone that would cause it to like...
You would have to find out what the hormone was. Which means you would have to capture one, find out the hormone. Yeah, it's a tough thought process. Just getting rid of the tunnelers and the Death Claws was the best thing you did. Besides, if you need more Death Claws, they live in frickin' New Vegas.
Yeah, go down
What if I
to-
did experiments on the Death Claws that I killed in order to find out a hormone that...
Well, you could add that to the story. There's nothing against that. Just keep
Yeah.
your damn Death Claws away from my damn valley.
I would basically do that. I'd experiment on the Death Claws that I killed, try out different hormones to
And
see
for the
what-
love of
see
everything
which
holy
one
and hellish,
works.
could everyone keep the Cazadors away too?
Yeah.
I don't need any of those damn wasp, cockroach, tarantula, hornet monsters in my land, alright? It's hard enough to deal with the damn Yaguas.
I didn't know that. I'm sorry. I thought that's what you wanted.
Kill them with fire! Ah! But I feel...
I was gonna say I
Yeah.
wanted to add something to my story.
Go ahead.
In the back of my mind, because him having the missiles, if he ever tried to abuse his power, he'd get shot in the back of the head, and then I'd take full control.
And then she'd end
Whoa.
up using it.
Whoa.
Let's face it.
So-
She'd end up abusing
so-
it after
so
shooting
not-
me
not-
for trying to abuse it.
Would you guys use your nukes against me?
No.
No.
Okay, that's all I care about then. Don't die. If she's gonna threaten to kill you, just move in with me for a few weeks, you know, chill out, wait for things to calm down, then go back with some flowers.
As I walk across the lands and see that everything's nuked. Gotcha.
Alrighty, so we have a couple of more comments here.
Okay, what do we got?
Maybe I'll just maul the hell out of you with Death Claws. They survived the Fat Man ammo. Or
They-
Fat Boy ammo.
They survived the Fat Boy ammo, I'll give you that, but what they will not survive against are all the satchel charges I have laid out everywhere.
The mounds of security I have.
Or the marked men that I have with the sentry bots.
And
But you know what? The best part is
my snipers.
JV Slayer does have a good advantage, though. There's actually a location in the Fallout New Vegas where it's actually called the Deathclaw Sanctuary.
Yes.
So if you could find some way... I mean, in the first game, you actually ran into an intelligent Deathclaw that could talk. And if he could somehow find some way to find the same equipment that made it, he could then get intelligent Deathclaws.
I wouldn't mind being able to do that.
But while you're at it, please help the super mutants first. I mean, they really need some help.
Yeah. He also had...
I mean, yeah.
He also put, haha, seal the vault door.
Seal the vault door. There you go. Just hide in the vault. That's actually a good place to hide. Well,
I mentioned that in the first place, but I was like, no, I wanted a better place.
well, like I said, the problem with the vaults is, unless you could get them under your control, most of the vaults were either destroyed by Mr. House or ended up destroying themselves from the experiments inside. Although there is this one, I can't remember, I think it's Vault 22, where they had a cloning machine that could clone people.
No, that destroyed itself in a sense.
Well, yeah, but what happens is the clones went insane and killed everybody. But if you can,
Yes,
no, it's the
Brandon,
one.
we
The
know
one you're
JV
the one
Slayer
you're
is
thinking
you.
about. That
yeah, we know who you are, buddy. Don't worry.
The one that actually worked out is the casino one, isn't it?
That worked out because it was a great idea because it was based on everybody won through gambling and games of chance.
Right.
But then Mr. House came in and beat everybody.
And then he also put
Let's face it, he
alphabet
cheated.
He might have.
He cheated.
He might have. But the whole idea behind this one, and of course we'll be doing one more. We'll be doing the last one. We'll be doing on Fallout 4.
doesn't exist.
Shut up, Necro. Which I'm now giving you heads up so you could come over some days and do some exploring. Actually, the idea behind Fallout 4 was pretty stupid in my opinion, but what they added to the game with the enhanceable weapons and everything, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I just don't want to have to build settlements for every dumbass on the fucking mesa. Alright, I built this super powerful fortress where you could just move on in. Now we want to stay here. You don't understand. I got fresh water, I got fresh food, I got plenty of protection. We want to sleep on our farm. It's got farms. I could literally move your farm there.
Okay,
I like this spot here.
And if if Mr. Brandon wants to be part of the next week's, please, you can cut it on up, man. We need to get Roadblock Bond back in here. No, wait, is that Battlefield?
Yes.
Oh, Battlefield, when are you getting back here? Get your ass up here. We have more.
I smell wounded deer.
Murder Squad. We need more Murder Squad. We need to do some more TTT videos. We need you up here. When are you coming? We'll wait for an answer. Stare at the camera.
He has already beat Slay the Spy Spear?
Huh?
What?
That's what you put. He has already beat Slay the Spear.
Oh, Spire.
Slay the Spire. Oh, nice. Congratulations, man.
Cool.
So when are you getting back up here? We're waiting for the TTT to come back. People have been asking.
We need Murder Squad. We need Murder
It's
Squad.
not the same without you screaming at people to get off the stairs.
Or telling
Uh-oh.
people you smell wounded deer. My favorite part.
We need you.
It's just not the same. Necro keeps trying to be Murder Squad.
Well,
Wasn't he the one that was
that's
like, the?
every girl that we
Wasn't,
bring in,
wasn't
though.
he the
That
man
could
left
be
out
Murder
kind
Squad.
of deal for Murder Squad?
Mm-hmm.
Every time he tried to join the Murder Squad, you guys killed him.
Yeah,
didn't you?
well, Brandon murdered him so much. In fact, one of our videos was literally, when I counted it, the number of times Brandon killed someone versus how many times a terrorist killed someone. The number was terrifying. Like, Battlefield just literally killed so many people that he should have just been terrorist. Like, there was at one point where I believe it was you. You were the terrorist, and you actually bought weapons, and you're like, "Here, Kyle, take this. We're gonna go kill Brandon."
Oh, I did that.
Yeah, we actually teamed up, and we couldn't kill Brandon. He killed us.
Alright, he put LOL, I don't know, hard to tell.
Well, if you get back to us as soon as you can, man, because we miss you up here, up in TMOG country.
Like that TMOG country.
Yeah.
That TMOG country, with them deep fried potato chips,
And them beans. God love them beans.
Alright, anyway.
Anyways, folks, so we want to thank you all for joining us. Once again, can we get a shout out to Battlefield Brandon for actually being here, and we all miss him. Everyone give him a little "we miss him" down in the comments below. Also, once again, want to congratulate the power couple itself. The what did we decide on? Sub Vanity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The Sub Vanity crew for their upcoming marriage. Maybe TMOG will do a live stream of it. No, we're not going to do it. We don't embarrass that. Anyways, folks, but until next time,
Wait,
I am.
why not?
If you want us to, we will. I have no problem doing a live stream. You guys win,
It'll be on Halloween.
but we'll be doing
Cemetery.
comments. I'll be commenting like one of them commenters from freaking WrestleMania. And here comes Subliminal. He's been a great game so far, but he's up against his biggest threat now. Here comes Rebel Vanity.
Jumping off the top rope.
That's what.
Anyway,
So until next time, folks, I'm KaijuK.
Necro Nick.
Oh, sorry, Subliminal.
Rebel Vanity.
We'll see you all in the future, everyone. Peace out, everybody.
Damn it, I fucking space.